Switching gear, I think yeah, I agree. Switching gears a bit. Why are the NBA ratings dipping? And does it have anything to do with the Hong Kong China thing or not at all?
No, I don't I don't think the Hong Kong China thing, you can take that isolated and say this is part of the ratings dip. The ratings have been dipping for a few years now. Mm-hmm. But the NBA is dealing with a myriad of problems, right? For whatever reason, the NBA insists on putting franchises in like B-level cities as far as market size. I'm not talking about the quality of your city, Memphis. If we have any TMBS people in Memphis, and
if
or
they're in Memphis, they're great,
New Orleans,
and their city's wonderful.
You know,
I'm sure there are in
great
Portland.
cities,
much love.
But market size, when you consider like there's no team in Seattle, but there's a team in Oklahoma City, so they have a market issue. That's a one. Two, I think, you know, quite frankly, when you're the NBA, you're constantly dealing with a race problem, right? Like inevitably, you are selling a black sport to a predominantly white audience, and that's gonna. It's always an uphill climb with that, right? Like, this is still America. I know, ta-da, I know I'm a genius for saying that, but like, this is still America, and it's still complicated to sell the NBA to people. And, you know, quite frankly, I think the cord cutting in cable goes hand in hand with this. You know, with a majority of their games being broadcast on Turner and ESPN. So it's just a myriad of factors coming in. Plus, like, we're ushering out one era when it comes to LeBron and them, and ushering in a brand new one. So the audience is getting used to new guys. Also, Mike, for whatever reason, white Americans just can't get with European players. You know, like they just like.
Isn't that actually that is super? I was gonna say that I think that's really interesting, right? Because
they don't go for it.
There is the NFL, like I feel like the NBA and you know the China, like obviously look at the end of the day, this is all capitalism, so let's be real. But the NBA clearly accepts, and you know, there's the Nike ad that points to Black Lives Matter. There, you know, there like. The NBA understands as a brand proposition that this is a very like this is a sport that in order to enjoy and participate in, you probably at least have to have some degree of quote unquote liberalism, you know, and then the NFA.
Yeah, and the numbers bear it out. The numbers bear it out. Like, if you look it up, the NBA viewer leans more progressive, tends to live in a city. All of those demographic numbers bear
Unlike
out.
But then on the other hand, all Americans are parochial as hell. So it's interesting that it's like, oh, I get it. Like we live it like this is, you know, we're a mosaic America. Like, wait, like. Jarab Kano, like what? He's from Hungary. Like, excuse you. Like, it's very interesting. There's not like
like we joked about earlier on our show on The Athletic, back to back, subscribed and all of that on iTunes and Spotify. Shameless plug, I know.
Please.
But today we joked about this kid Luka Doncic, Slovenian kid. He's 20 years old. He's basically, if you look at his numbers, he's probably the best 20-year-old NBA player who isn't LeBron James or Magic Johnson. That's literally it. Those are his only comps as a 20-year-old. That's how successful he's been. Super handsome, has a very flashy, likable game, super entertaining.
Tons of charisma.
All of those things that you would point to, people, but like, if he were from Indiana, forget about it. The hype machine, you would never stop hearing about this kid. Ever. But because he's Slovenian, like, you know, white America shrugs and goes, he's got a weird name.
We're not going to get a strike on that, right?
We're not playing it.
Okay. Yeah, we're just playing a little audio of watching Luka play a little bit. No, you're 100% right. If he was from Indiana, you never stop hearing about it. And that's like the interesting question is like, where does the next generation, because the NBA has always relied for every generation on these unbelievably charismatic players. But, you know, I don't know. Yeah, maybe if they're from Europe, people aren't interested.
I think there's a lot of charismatic guys, even after LeBron and them are completely gone. There's enough charisma, there's enough talent in the league. I think the league needs to just adjust how they've gone about, you know, selling this game to the mass public, right? And I mentioned this earlier, and I think a lot of the reasons why they've been trying to push into China, trying to push into India, trying to push abroad to find new audiences, because the sell is way less complicated to a Chinese audience, right? Like, you don't have to deal with 400 years of black oppression in America, right? Like, Black Lives Matter or I Can't Breathe t-shirt means nothing to a kid or a young adult in China who just likes watching people dunk and shoot threes. You know, and I think that's a big reason why you've seen them trying to find
Michael Jordan still means something to somebody in China. That's how powerful that brand is. Right.
Of course. So that's what I think a part of it is. You know, you think about 2006 when they were in this place after the Malice in the Palace in Detroit with Ron Artest and Jermaine O'Neal and the Pacers are fighting fans in the stands, and David Stern enacts this reactionary ass dress code, which is basically like pick your pants up NBA players.
Yep.
You guys are fighting fans, and we're trying to sell this to a white audience. You know, NBA is constantly always dealing with this issue, right? In the 80s and 70s, there was a perception that it was a bunch of guys who are thugs on the court, always fighting, and drugs, that they're doing drugs.
Right.
And so they're always fighting this race perception. And, you know, you're just seeing that today, too.
You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.